Hello friends and followers. Please let me show you how the family strategy works. The key element of this strategy is a pivot pattern. A pivot is a set of at least 3 candles where the middle candle has the highest high. In this strategy, a pivot size is measured as the distance in pips from the pivot's highest high to the highs of the left and right candles. A valid pivot is identified only if the set pivot size is equal or greater than the distance from pivot high to both highs of left and right candles. The same applies to a pivot low. Here are 5 candles, where the middle one has the lowest low of all 5 candles. To measure a pivot size, I need to look to the left and also to the right and find the closest low. That distance defines the size of this pivot low. On the chart, a valid pivot high with the required minimum pivot size is marked with a green diamond. A valid pivot low with an applicable pivot size is marked with a red diamond. When trading in the long direction, the strategy looks for 2 consecutive pivot highs, with the last pivot high placed at a lower price. When found, a house pattern appears, represented by a rectangle drawn around both pivots and the lowest low found between these 2 pivots. When trading in the short direction, the strategy looks for 2 consecutive pivot lows, with the last pivot low placed at a higher price. When found, a house pattern appears, represented by a rectangle drawn around both pivots and the highest high found between these 2 pivots. As the market moves, an empty house is filled with trading positions. Each position in a house is represented by a corresponding family member. The first family member is always Dad. When trading long, the strategy places a pending buy stop order at high of the last pivot. If the market rises and makes at least one full candle above Dad's entry price, a pending buy limit order will appear for Mom. If the market falls after getting Daddy, then a pending buy limit order to adopt child Ann will appear at the bottom of the house. If Ann is adopted and the market is at least one full candle below Ann's entry price, a pending buy stop order will appear for Eric. This means that Ann and Eric will be adopted by Dad. If Dad gets Mom and the market falls to the bottom of the house, a pending limit buy order will appear for Stan. And if the market makes at least one full candle below Stan's entry price, a pending buy stop order will appear for Dorothy. The stop loss for Dad and Mom is calculated as twice the distance between Dad's entry price and the bottom of the house. The stop loss for Ann, Eric, Stan and Dorothy is calculated as twice the size of the entire house. The profit targets for Dad and Mom are calculated as 3 times the distance between Dad's entry price and the bottom of the house. This applies if there are no children in the house. If the market continues to rise and there are no children, then Mom will find a boyfriend. This represents an additional position opened in the expected direction. If the price goes down to Mom's entry, then boyfriend will be caught and closed at stop loss. If not caught, boyfriend will reach the profit target with a risk-reward ratio of 1:2. All the children in the house will have a common profit target according to the strategy settings. For example, if the strategy works with 3 houses, then all children from all 3 houses will target the same profit price. If there's at least one child in the house, then the parents will exit the strategy by leaving the house at their break-even entry price plus offset pips. I'll try to explain how this works on the chart. I will give you a trading idea to go long on the Dow Jones Index and then show you how to set up the family strategy. I would like to show how the family strategy can be used in this particular case on the U30 Dow Jones Index. This current candle is 15 minutes after the release of the JOLTS job openings. I see a long trading opportunity here as I believe the price will soon move back into value territory, which is this green area. Or, at the very least, the price shall test the bottom of the value area low. The index had been under heavy selling pressure for the previous 2 weeks, but 2 days ago, for the first time, buyers outnumbered sellers and for several hours the price was in the lower half of the range. Soon after, there was another, more vigorous attempt by buyers to reclose in the value area. I'm going to take a ruler and mark this failed attempt. It often happens that the price starts to rotate or reverse at 100% or 200% of this distance. I have marked these two places as potential levels to start building longs. I also noticed a very interesting level around 33,777 where there seems to be a battle between buyers and sellers. At this point, buyers had already broken through the level, but were pushed down in two waves. If I measure the activity of the buyers, there was a relatively equal activity of the sellers and the market consumed this liquidity below the lows. Then came the failed long attempt, and the sellers took over again. The last of the liquidity has now been used up and the market is at the possible reversal level I have marked. However, I expect the market to make another move lower similar to the previous one. That would come out somewhere around here. And just below that is another interesting level for a reversal. That's why this is now an interesting buying zone for me to build longs. Since the last attempt by buyers to return to value, the market has been in a 2-day rotation with high volumes. Let me insert a volume profile starting from that failed long activity and ending right now after taking liquidity at the low. When I apply a volume profile to this rotation, I see a lot of volume right at the bottom of the value area low, and I believe that is where the market will come back soon. And with a point of control test already in place, the next attempt by buyers to break through could see them head for the liquidity above. And that is where I would like to target my long positions around the price of 33,520. The family strategy works well in this case because if the price continues to fall or stagnate, a pivot high is formed and the houses used by the strategy are built there. The big advantage of the strategy is that if the price starts to fall, nothing really happens, no more positions are taken. First, we need a lower pivot high, which should appear after any stagnation. I will now switch to the cTrader platform and show how such a strategy would be set up and traded. This is the candle after the JOLTS job openings news. I activated the strategy at 33,200. The filtered pivot size is set to 300, which corresponds to 30 points on the US 30 instrument. To mark a valid pivot, there must be 30 points to the left of the chart and also 30 points to the right of the high. Individual pivots are marked backwards in this way. The traffic light is gray because the strategy is not yet active. It turns green when the strategy is active. If the price were to go up now, there would be a daddy waiting in the house with a buy stop order at the price of 33,391. If the price falls, it will look for the next pivot with a lower high. When it is found, the original pending buy stop order is cancelled, and moved to the high of the newly found pivot. This will continue until the price breaks through the last found pivot high. Here the pivot made a breakout through the last pivot high and the first daddy position opened up. Now, according to the internal logic, other positions within the house will be taken. In the settings I have allowed a maximum of 3 separate houses. I will now let the strategy run its course and then return to the other setup parameters. I will pull up the parameter window to see the strategy settings. The strategy ended with a profit of $4,413. The risk position was 2 lots. The maximum risk allowed for the whole strategy was $1,500. This means that if all the open and closed positions were at a loss of $1,500, the entire strategy would stop. Now let's look at how the positions were opened within each house. In this strategy we have deactivated the boyfriend position. The individual positions can be disabled in the settings. Each position represents a family member. In the alpha house, Dad was the first to open. The price went up, and then Mom got in when the market made at least one full candle above Dad's entry price. Since we have Dad and Mom, the son Stan can open as another position in the bottom of the house. But that didn't happen here because the price turned just above the pending limit order for Stan. It only happened here when liquidity was taken out below the previous lows. As Stan joined the alpha house, both parents automatically closed at their entry prices when the price came back. Their positions closed 100 pips higher according to the parents' B offset setting, which is 10 points on this Dow Jones instrument. The second beta house picked up Dad, and as the market again made at least one full candle above the entry price of the Dad, the Mom position opened a little later. However, for the duration of the strategy, the price never reached the bottom of the house, so Stan's pending position did not open. Both parents have set the target's risk-reward ratio at 1:3, which was actually higher than the target's projected total profit price. Therefore, both parents of the beta house closed at the common target of the whole strategy. In the third Charlie house, Dad opened, but the market didn't make a single full candle above his entry price. So Mom didn't open on the pullback. However, the price fell to the bottom of the house where a limit order for N was waiting. The price then quickly returned to Daddy's entry price, which was closed at its break-even point with the offset set according to the settings. This left only Anne's position in Charlie's house, which had reached the common target as part of the strategy. A detailed description of all the settings can be found in the PDF user manual, which can be downloaded from our website. If you liked the video, please give us a like. We wish you good luck and many profitable trades.